Yep, we're good.
Okay, we're going to call regular board meeting to order. At this time now, we'll have a moment of silence followed by a pledge of allegiance. Now we'll have the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, please.
Okay?
I'd like to approve the agenda with two changes, please. To move item 10A regarding the P cards to after executive session items. And to-
10A?
Yes. No, you're looking at printed, so it'd be 9A on yours.
10A, which is purchase cards, okay?
There was one, I've got the same copy you do. It's the P card.
Okay, what's the other one?
And the other one is to move 10B, C, and D to the consent agenda.
I also have a
Those are-
motion that I'd like to make.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
I object to the items on the potential consent.
Okay.
Oh, is this audit items here?
Yes.
You said 10 though.
Yeah,
9A.
this is the print version you and I have
Oh,
from
hold on, let
Friday.
me look at it.
Yeah.
So the motion was made
I'd
for
like-
item 10A, the P card to be moved up to
Where
after.
exactly up to, Todd?
Up to after the executive session items
After
after.
The end of
executive.
number 4.
Yes.
After
Okay.
4.
Guys, in order for me to get this right, I need to hear from Todd what the clear motion is.
I
and-
move
10A
to
though.
approve the agenda with two changes. Moving, this is the print agenda from Friday.
All right, moving
moving
10A
10A.
after executive session, and then item 10B.
B through D to consent agenda item.
Okay,
The finance audit.
Now I'd like to
Yes.
make an amendment to that motion.
Okay? And the second was from Cindy on that, so go ahead.
So I just want to amend that we.
who seconded
I
that?
did.
All right. Go ahead.
So you know that I object to putting items in the potential consent.
Okay.
I would like to make a friendly amendment, Todd, that we take item 11A and move it into 6A and have the public comments where we typically do, and if we want to split them into two different sections, we do that with a little bit more notice for the public.
Okay.
So 11A.
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay.
second that. Cindy, can you repeat that, please?
Move 11A and fold it into 6A, and if we choose to have public comments in two separate areas in the future, we can, as a board, make that discussion and announce it.
So let me explain that very clearly on why that was done, which we are still within policy with public comments. It's just a matter of the placement on the agenda, but public comment still exists. So public comment was split in two different various sections for a particular reason. One, to accommodate items that we are addressing on voting items to discuss the business. The second is to have input from the public on other business that's not obtaining to items that we're voting on, just so that we can have clarity as to what we're voting on to do the business. So it's not that we're out of policy with these two items being split, but they're being split for that particular reason. That was the whole idea behind the two
I think it's a
sections.
great idea. I just think that we're a board, and as a board, we ought to be allowed to discuss those things together rather than waking up one morning and finding out that the agenda's been shifted.
Yeah, so it's not a matter of not being able to discuss. Again, the items are still there. It's just more for clarity. But we can put it on the committee of the whole agenda if you want to discuss it further. We can do that. But just know the reason why it exists today. Is there any further questions or any further discussion?
So if we're ready to vote on items 10, B, C, and D, when if it is so moved that they go to potential consent, I would like my vote for item B to be listed as a no.
Well, you just did a friendly amendment to lump it all into one motion. So if you want to separate that out,
He's trying
Hang
to
on.
get your,
Hang on,
no,
hang on.
it's not separating it.
Go ahead, finish your.
yeah. So if you want to, because when we vote on this, it's going to be vote on the motion that was made. So if you want to separate your vote to have a clear no on one of these, then we need to pull it out and vote it accordingly.
Okay, prior practice, we had just simply recorded our vote. I'm okay with it being in potential consent. I just want, for the record, my vote for the historical
Okay.
record
That's fine.
recorded.
That's
So-
fine. As long as she's not making the motion, that's
Right.
fine.
Right,
Okay. All right.
and that just needs to be something that Julia captures.
So once we cast a vote on the existing motion that has been outlined, then we can make a footnote, Julie, if you want to, per se, that her vote will be no, but that will be after the vote because we're sending it to consent.
10 feet.
We're sending it to consent.
This week, just do it.
Got it.
All right.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Was the agenda updated electronically since this came out?
Was it,
Updated since this came out?
I believe it was.
I don't have a 10A and B. I got,
Are you looking online here, or are you looking on your printed paper?
a printed one.
Well, you printed it out, so it has changed since then, probably, if that's what you're talking
That's
about.
it. Yeah,
If it's not
mine didn't
reflecting the
have
same.
A B or anything on it.
Maybe the letters moved
So
around.
let me dig it up in
Are you looking online?
not yet, no,
No,
sir.
he's-
I'm just using that.
What,
I normally start with the paper handout, with the paper copy.
Okay, well, I need you to log in, though, because we're voting.
And this one has items here, has it? But mine doesn't have it.
Can you log in?
Oh, no.
Ask and try.
Please do.
but I do have a question.
Yeah.
What changed from the time it was published on Wednesday to today?
I don't know, that's what Reverend Collins is saying.
Number 10.
But he's not even logged in.
No, I'm asking what changed
There
from
was a
when the,
special recognition added.
thank you.
Yep.
That's all I wanted
There's
to
actually,
know.
there's 4 items on number 10 that's not on mine.
Reverend Collins, can you go ahead and log in, please?
Yes, sir.
Shh, don't say that. You just say your name to me.
Can we go ahead and vote?
We're waiting on Reverend Collins as soon as he logs in.
Okay.
but we can
No, I'm
vote.
logged in.
You already
Say, can we
voted?
go ahead and vote if it's on our screen?
Yes.
So we're voting to approve the agenda, the moves and finance items and the potential consent.
So you're approving the motion was made by Todd, second by Cindy, to move item 10A, which is the P card, after executive session item, and then to move agenda item 10B, C, and D to consent, and 11A to 6A.
I'll make you a copy of that now. Let's see if I got it.
Oh, we're waiting on Julie.
You have these on the agenda. It's not mine.
Reverend Collins,
Yes, sir.
can you please cast your vote? Okay, motion passed, 7 yes, 1 abstention.
Move to approve the minutes of the January 28th meeting and the special called February 11th
Second.
meeting.
I did, Kate.
Carrie's properly moving second. Are there any questions about the minutes?
Move to go in executive session.
Second.
And it's not
Okay.
procedural, so it doesn't require a vote.
We will now reconvene to open session.
Reverend Mack, or Reverend Mack Chair, Reverend Chair Mack. I have a motion for item 4A that. Are we out of executive session, Reverend Mack?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to make a motion for item 4A, that the board ask Mr. Boroi to continue to negotiate for property A.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved in second. We'll now wait for the call. The question has been stated. Julie will now post for voting. Ask everyone to please cast their votes. Motion passed unanimous. Item B, 4B.
So, item 4B, I make a motion that we recommend that the board approve to list both the Charlestown Academy and Archer properties on the MLS.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Are there any questions? At this time, we ask that you please cast your vote. Yes, motion passed unanimous.
I move to combine items C and D
Second.
and have the superintendent refer those to the state.
Second.
Okay, and properly moved in second. Item C and D be combined. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I ask that you please cast your vote.
So Julie, do you have to still put them up twice? Oh, okay, I see what you're doing. I think we. I don't. Okay.
Okay, item 4E.
I have a motion. Oh,
Sorry.
wait, she's waiting for everybody to vote.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I know.
There she goes.
Uh,
Go,
Okay,
I've got
motion
a
passed unanimous. Item 4E.
I move that the board of trustees uphold the constituent board district number 4 decision.
Second.
Okay, been properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I ask that you please cast your vote. Okay, I'm missing
item
my piece of
10A.
paper, right.
Is next.
Today is next.
Yep, just 1 second. Okay, let's see, has everyone cast their votes?
Yes.
Was it unanimous?
No.
I didn't see it.
One abstention.
One abstention? Okay.
Recommended.
All right. In the opening, we moved item 10A as the next item on the agenda. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I move to approve item 10A at 800 per month for the purchase cards for board members.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved. Motion made by Reverend Collins, second by Todd Garrett.
Right,
800 per month.
I'm sorry, he didn't.
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second.
She didn't hear the motion.
So Reverend Collins, can I make a suggestion?
All right.
That we have a motion that came from the committee of the whole, and that perhaps you make that motion with the change in the dollar amount.
All right. The same thing, isn't it?
Nope. The motion from the committee of the whole meeting is to revise policies BID
yes,
and
yes.
DKC for first reading to permit issuance of purchase cards to board members with the monthly limit not to exceed $250.
So we'll just amend the 250 to the 800, the same thing. That motion is what I want. What you
So
just
that
read.
motion's what I said is what you want, but you
Yes.
want the limit to be 800.
Yes.
All right? So there was some, sorry.
Okay, and Mr. Garrett seconded that motion.
Call the question.
Oh,
Hold on 1 second.
so I just might have a little bit of discussion on this. So Reverend Collins, we've talked about this. My thought on going to a lower amount was, let's go, have the lower amount. We all agree, we all do the P cards, and if it works well, then we can increase the amount. And we follow the process, we do the paperwork, we turn it in, all that kind of stuff before we give $800 a month to everybody to use on P cards, that we make sure we all can do it correctly. That's why I wanted the 250, and I was more comfortable with the 250.
So we can, all
Reverend
right, I understand what you're saying. If, what do we consider then, I'm not interested in 250 myself, but 450 or 5, I'm willing to do that.
Well, you made the motion, so you need to correct the
I can
motion.
amend it. Either one, you take your pick.
No, you take the pick, because you made the motion.
I'd say go lower, but Priscilla has her hand up.
All right?
I have a question. I've been on the board for 2 years. I have a question as to what we would be spending $250 to $800 a month on. I don't have any expenses, and I'm pretty busy around the district. So I'd like it to be stated publicly why we are asking for P cards.
I think it was in it's in the original writing. If you have read original writing, talk about the State House, the legislature, each member of the House and Senate, they get $1,000 a month to assist them serving their constituents. And that's $12,000 a year. We're trying to do slightly, maybe 2/3 of that, or maybe even half of that. Let's say it was $6,000 a year to assist us. But you do have costs to serve. You have Wi-Fi, you have transportation, you have clothing, you have telephone. You can get that much. You have printing costs, insurance.
Insurance.
These things don't come in like free. Now, maybe yours come free, but for most of us, they don't come free. Someone's usually working and paying for it. You have medical expenses. What happens when you come to work and you get a flat tire in your car? Who pays for that? You come to the school board meeting, you get a blowout. Who pays for that? Does Goodwill pay for that? So I think you get an idea of what we're saying, but it's individual. You can say no. You can vote yes or no. It's nothing in place on anybody. That's just my perspective of it. If the state, it's good enough for the state representatives, ought to be good for little us, for being you.
Well,
Okay.
I would say, Reverend Collins, that the reason I think we do have some expenses. Printing is a good example. If your company, luckily my company covers most of that.
Well, that's good.
But some of that I do at home. There are some small expenses. I'd like us to do something at the $400 range. I'm not going to support 800. Let's go
You do 450 then?
400.
All right, 400.
All right, second. Call the question on it.
All right, did you amend the
Haven't had a
motion,
single-
Reverend Collins?
That's a good
Yes, I accept the case motion, yes.
Which is
The motion from the committee of the whole, for changing the amount from 250 to 400.
to $400. Okay, Julie, do you have that? I do, yes. Okay. All right, the motion has been moved and second. I ask that you please cast your vote. Okay, the motion passed 5-3. All right, next item on the agenda is special recognition 5A.
Good evening, Chair Mack, Vice Chair Darby, board members, Dr. Postlewaite, and guests. We have two special recognitions this evening. I'd like to ask Susan Friedrich to please come forward, as well as Rich Gordon. Tonight, we're proud to recognize Susan Friedrich, who was named the Coalition on Adult Basic Education's 2019 Outstanding Administrator of the Year. Ms. Friedrich, who is CCSD's Director of Adult Education, will be honored in New Orleans at the conference in April. The Outstanding Administrator of the Year award is awarded to an adult education administrator with 5 or more years of experience who has made an outstanding contribution towards fostering the concept of education as a continuing life process. Ms. Friedrich was also recently named the South Carolina Adult Education Director of the Year. She has over 37 years of experience, 35 of which have been in adult education and CCSD. Let's give her a warm round of applause. Next, I'd like to ask representatives from the ESGR, Angie Gibbs and Bill Hamilton, as well as Colonel Rich Gordon, to please come forward for our next presentation.
Dr. Postlewaite, would it be okay for you to come down? Hey. Just have you stand right over here next to Richard. Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Angie Gibbs, and with me is retired Chief Master Sergeant Bill Hamilton. We are both volunteers with ESGR. ESGR is the employment support of the Guard and Reserve, and it's a Department of Defense organization. ESGR's goal is to support America's employers and supervisors who share their employees with the Department of Defense to ensure our national security. We are here to give recognition to Dr. Postlethwaite, who is being honored today with an ESGR Patriot Award in recognition of her outstanding support for her employee, Richard Gordon. Richard, who is assigned to the Army's National Guard Joint Forces Headquarters, submitted a Patriot Award request to formally recognize his supervisor, Dr. Postlethwaite. Richard recognized the understanding and flexibility of Dr. Postlethwaite displays when it comes to his military training and deployment. Richard knows that his position and his job is protected, and Charleston County School District will be waiting for him upon his return of active duty. Dr. Postlethwaite's commitment to patriotism and the welfare of our deployed soldiers is far and above beyond the normal of those who employ citizen soldiers, sailors, airmen, and women in the U.S. Military Reserve and National Guard forces. Richard went on to express his thanks to the team at Charleston County School District for their unwavering support during his hectic and sometimes frequent absence from work due to military duty. We know that it takes a shifting of duties and responsibilities in the absence of one working with a team. The entire team is to be commended on picking up the extra work when Richard is called to serve his country as a member of the National Guard. These are some comments that he submitted to the Department of Defense. Dr. Postlethwaite is the epitome of the Patriot Award employer. It starts with little things like checking on me and my family, whether I'm actively serving or not. She routinely asks me about my service and regularly reinforces her value of my military knowledge and experiences. As an example, this idea was emphasized when allowing me to use my military skill set towards school district organizational goals, such as the development of our school district's 2018 strategic plan. I got a text last year on a Saturday night to report to duty in preparation for Hurricane Florence. By Sunday, I was fully activated over 100 miles away from my family and with an unknown timeline, but I was assured. Immediately, I was receiving support from multiple individuals across multiple divisions throughout the organization. This would not have happened without the workforce environment and climate conducive to military support, and this starts at the top. Furthermore, upon my return, I was asked by the public relations officer to share my military support as well as the details of our Hurricane Florence recovery efforts in an attempt to highlight those who serve. Finally, Dr. Postlethwaite actively seeks opportunities for relationship development with our local military population. She's invited me to participate on advisement committees with leaders from both Charleston County School District and Joint Base Charleston, to support military students and their families who are assigned to Joint Base Charleston who attend Charleston County School District schools. Additionally, her active support of the Military Child Education Coalition mission of helping Charleston County military and veteran-connected students thrive in the face of transition and separation is second to none. As someone who has deployed overseas with 3 students in Charleston County School District, I can personally vouch for the value of such an initiative and personally thank her. Dr. Postlethwaite is a dependable champion of the military community, and I am proud to call her my supervisor. We appreciate everything that you do to support our military and reservists, and especially Richard.
At this time now, we'll have public comments.
All right, just real quick, I want to share with everybody what our public comment policy is. Board meetings shall be conducted in an orderly and efficient manner. Reasonable controls shall regulate public presentations to the board. Any individual who desires to appear before a regular board meeting shall sign up in prior to 5:15 and will be allowed a maximum of 2 minutes to address the board. A suitable visible chiming device shall be employed, please see, and it shall audibly mark the end of the presentation period. No speaker may use public comment to discuss personnel matters or matters otherwise private or confidential, and speakers are to discuss issues, not individual. The chairman or designee is authorized to terminate any speaker's time who does not observe this policy. And lastly, a lot of times people come and you ask us questions. We're not going to individually answer those, but staff is taking notes, and if you've asked a question, we will get back to you for sure. So the first couple of people to speak first, and if the first three people want to line up here beside the podium, first is Wendy Williams, and then Anthony G. Bryant, and then Ted Cozart. So it's Wendy Williams is first, Anthony G. Bryant, and then Ted Cozart.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I bring you greetings from Deer Park Middle School out on Latrana Road. I had some problems with issues with the school. My son goes to a classroom, and I was told that he had to take 2 classes because there isn't enough space at Deer Park. If you hire another teacher, where are we going to put the students and the teachers? We have a cafeteria. The kids cannot eat in the cafeteria most of the time because there isn't enough space. So how are we going to fix this problem? We also have a gymnasium that has classroom, but Charleston County School District said that they're going to close off the classroom because they're not going to supply us with an elevator to make it handicap accessible. And with those extra classrooms and that gymnasium, you possibly can hire another or budget for some teachers there so they can be accommodated with the population of the students, and also for the kids to be able to get in the classroom, or that'll be good for their curriculum. So we would like to know what's going to happen with Deer Park far as the population, how we're going to be able to manage the growth over there on Deer Park, at Deer Park.
Thank you, and you've signed, yep.
That's about the elevator again. Just repeat about the elevator.
The elevator, they said that the school needs to be handicap accessible. I don't know what it costs to have an elevator put into the school, but because there's no elevator there, there's a gymnasium that has classrooms up there in the upstairs. It cannot be utilized because there's not an elevator in there.
So that's
And if they get a handicapped student, what are we going to do about the situation there?
This classroom in the gym, what you're saying?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, thank you, ma'am. Somebody on staff will follow up with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bryant?
I come before you under the Administrative Procedure Act of 1946, Sunshine Act of 1976, Freedom of Information Act of 1966, Small Business Regulatory Enforcement and Fairness Act of 1996, which provides for all meetings to have, of course, to have notice, to have a procedure where administrators make recommendations, an effective date for all policies that are going to be approved, and gives an opportunity for people to petition against any rule, to approve a rule, the issuance of a rule, to amend a rule, or to support a rule. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals submits to the record to citizens that they are nocturnal citizens in South Carolina, meaning a minstrel, so they were recalcitrant, receive a recalcitrant education, and in terms, they don't have the appropriate rights based on Margaret Seymour in this state. See, sovereign immunity means sovereign immunity, that they have sovereign immunity over folk in South Carolina in terms of the approach in dealing with a variety of issues. in this state. Now, if you're giving an inoculatory education and creating a recalcitrant people, then where are they going to go at? Where are they going to go? They're not going to go and work for Fortune 500 companies. So we need to focus our attention on this. This is from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm here for that reason because my identifiers were in this body. My social security number, my name, my business name was in this body, and it's submitted on the record. And therefore, I'm submitting to you, the Army Corps of Engineers, Department of Education, and Margaret Seymour stating that they have sovereign immunity over folk in this state. Thank you for your service and time.
Thank you. Mr. Cosart, Reverend Cosart, and then Mayor Miriam Green and Patrick Martin.
My name is Ted Cozart. Some of you start the clock again.
Yeah, we'll start that clock again. Clear.
Okay.
All right, ready?
My name is Ted Cozart. Many of you know me. I was on the school board. I've been a teacher. I come from a long line of educators. I supported Dr. Postlewaite when she first came in. A lot of people weren't there because I saw a certain amount of service. I saw a certain amount of dedication and seriousness when she was there. That's why I support Prestige Military Academy. Dr. Coleman came back to her home, not because she wanted the money, not because she wanted to fluff up her resume. She did this because she wanted to teach young black children. This is something that you're not doing, and this is not just you, personal board, but going back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they have not been able to do that. Well, you have to understand that she is winning. Post and Carrier said only 7% of young black children are able to go to college. They just don't have the strengths for it. But at Preparatory Academy, they are doing very well. They're doing better than 80% of the schools in North Charleston. And she's doing this with no corporate sponsors. So I suggest that instead of trying to close it down, I think that we should study what she's doing. Why is it so successful? We want to do everything we can to make this work for us. She also has the support of the community and parents, and I think we should have some people working to give her what support she needs, and maybe even write it down so we can transfer it to other schools. So I support Prestige Academy. I think, especially if we can find a better way to support black children's learning. Just remember, uneducated, out of hope society, young men are going to be a disaster to society. You're going to pay them now, you're going to pay them in prison, or you're going to pay them through going to schools. So you can take that to the bank. So let's support Prestige Academy.
Thank you. Next is Mayor Miriam Green, then Patrick Martin, and Thomas Colleton. But I see Craig Askew is tag teaming in there, so, okay.
Good afternoon. This is the first time I've ever been on this side of the mic, but I'm going to enjoy it just as well. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Chairman, board members, and CCSD staff. I appreciate you guys. Chairman Mack, thank you. Dr. Postlewaite, Chris Collins, Todd's gone, Cindy Coates, Kevin Hollingshead, Joyce, Ms. Jeffries, Ms. Darby. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for keeping a promise to continue to put a high school back in Owendale. Thank you for your hard work, Jeff. Thank you, sir. I come with a spirit of gratitude and a spirit of leaning forward into the hard work that I know we will have to continue to get this done. Again, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I bring you greetings from the town of Owendale. And I, too, want to congratulate you for the decision that you made here today. We got a group of people today that came with us to ask you for their support. So therefore, you supported it, we appreciate it, and hands off to everyone. We appreciate your thoughts, your mind, and your continued working with us in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Patrick Martin, then Thomas Colleton, and Irma Harrell.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Patrick Martin. I'm a teacher at Wando High School. I appreciate y'all's service and y'all's time for allowing public comment. I won't take much of your time, but I'm here this evening to ask the board if to open up communication with teachers as we advocate in this current legislature for education reform. There's a group of teachers who've been discussing issues, especially concerning Bill H3759 and S419 as they relate to statewide education policy. And there are many teachers who'd like to join forces with the school board to help ensure the unique needs of Charleston County students are taken into account as these important discussions are taking place. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Next, Mr. Colleton, Ms. Harrell, and Craig, you already been here. You're Samantha Blake.
Good evening. To the established protocol, I just want to echo the sentiments expressed by Mayor Green and Mr. Askew. I want to thank you for the move that you've made. And as we move forward, in the words of Spike Lee last night, let's continue to do the right thing. I've been on this board for over 20-some years, and I'm not tired. I am going to continue to fight for my constituents in District 1 and our children because they deserve a sound education. I want to thank my constituent who came tonight, the clergy. Please stand. They are in it, and they want the same thing for their children that everybody else wants for theirs. They're taxpayers, and as the District 1 board, we're going to continue to fight to get the best education that their tax dollars can afford. Of course, with your help, your guidance, and your direction. I think we can work together to do this. So let's move forward in a timely manner, and let's continue to do the right thing for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colleton. Ms. Harrell, and then...
Yes, ma'am, here I am.
Here you are.
To God be the glory. For great things he has done. And great things this school board is going to continue to do for us. And like Mayor Green said, and Brother Askew and Mr. Colleton, my chair, I am his vice chair, and all of my board members and my church family, we all are here tonight to say to this board, thank you, and continue to do the job for our children and yours. This is your job, to see that we get what we need. And again, this board, thank you, and may God continue to bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrell. Next is Samantha Blake, Joe Bowers, and Stephen Kofer Shabakian. Oh, Stephen's been here before. Here's Samantha.
Good evening. My name is Samantha Blake, and I teach out at EV Ellington, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I just wanted to let you know that I am a teacher who reads the emails that you guys send out, and last week I noticed that you guys approved mission critical actions. When I looked over the 2.5 or so pages of mission critical actions, I saw that North Charleston, West Ashley, and the downtown schools got a lot of attention. And I noticed 3 things that they had in common. They had a comprehensive plan for high-quality pre-K through 12 education without having to leave their area. And I know that Clemson prioritized for us a reform to the system to ensure access to quality schools for all students, and that we already value equity in this district. So when I kept scrolling, I finally found District 23 down there at the top of page 3, and we had one little bullet: to continue to work with stakeholders to identify, prioritize, and address students' needs, which is a very vague, not very comprehensive plan. And I know that we have already identified some of the needs in our area. Like for 4 years now, we've had an advanced studies program at Ellington, and we continue to not have an advanced studies program for our kids to feed into in the middle and high school. I know that this year there was a group that worked on some school choice recommendations Some of those directly affect partial magnets, and my principal, my colleagues, our parents, none of us had any idea that this was going on. So we would like to, if you're going to work with the stakeholders, we would like to be communicated with. So again, I just am here to remind you that our District 23 kids deserve that same comprehensive plan for high-quality pre-K education without having to leave our area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Joe Bowers.
Good evening, Chairman Mack, members of the board, Dr. Postlewaite. I just want to echo the statements made by longtime family friend Craig Askew, my mayor, Miriam Green, and my former board fellow colleagues, Mr. Colleton and Ms. Harrell. I want to thank y'all for taking the action you did tonight on the Allendale School. We worked very hard over a number of years to identify that particular property with the staff at the town of Allendale and Mayor Green and our board. We really dug into it before we sent you the recommendation on which property we believed you should purchase and everything. So I hope that we will continue to move forward on this so that we can fulfill the promises made to the Allendale-McClellanville community. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Stephen Kofer, tell me how to say it, Stephen.
Kofer Shabika.
Kofer Shabika, and then John Brubaker and Francis McPherson.
Good evening, Board, Madam Superintendent. My name is Stephen Kofer Shabika, and I'm the Education Chair for the Charleston branch of the NAACP. And Dot Scott contacted me, our president contacted me about an hour ago and said she'd been unable to be here tonight because she wanted to talk about Prestige Academy. And she asked me to bring you a few words. I won't do justice to the way President Scott can deliver the words, but she's very concerned with the shutdown of the academy and the impacts that it's going to have on the students and how they're going to be treated and how they're going to, or the long-term or even short-term impacts of this closure on them. And she would ask, or she asked me to ask you if there's any possibilities of reconsidering this to maintain this community school for the members of that community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is John Brubaker, then Francis McPherson, and Mertice Brown.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairperson and member of council, for allowing me to make this presentation, or member of the school board, rather. I appreciate all of you giving your devotion to this problem that has eluded so many before you. And it is paramount that you all make wise decisions in order to succeed where so many that went before have failed. And I wish you every success. I can caution you that locating the school in its presently proposed in Allendale is not a wise decision. I do not argue that Allendale is deficient in access to quality education, but I think that this facility as it's proposed, will be more to serve the overflow from North Mount Pleasant, where the residents of Mount Pleasant don't want to make space for it, at the expense of the residential character of Allendale, which most of the residents of Allendale very strongly support. Allendale is part of the Seaweed to Santee corridor, a internationally recognized biodome surrounded by the Francis Marion National Forest, the Nature Conservancy, and several other important, the Cape Romaine National Wildlife, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brubaker. Next is Francis McPherson, and then Mertice Brown.
Thank you very kindly. The words declare unto us, in everything give thanks. So we say thanks to you. And I am reminded of a scripture that Jesus instructed us. Ask, it shall be given you. Seek, ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Years and years we were knocking, and knocking. Please open the door for us. May God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mertice Brown, then DeAndre Muhammad, and Charlene Smalls.
Good afternoon. Good evening, a little bit hoarse. Thank you, board members, for all the time and efforts you put into our school system. Is the mic on? Because it was hard for me to hear in the back.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm here in support of Prestige Academy and would like for those parents and teachers and staff members who are here also to stand who may not be able to speak. I want to share this with you. When you pay for crime by being incarcerated, taxpayers too bear some of the burden locking up a juvenile. State costs an average of $407.58, and this is really dated several years ago, so we know the cost is more, per person per day, and $148,767 per person. At Preparatory Academy, Prestige Preparatory Academy, we have the opportunity right there to change the lives of some boys, and we know that our boys are always challenged. And this school has not even been open 3 years, and even before that, there's the talk of closing it. Now, I know we have an issue of enrollment, but as a former educator, parent, grandmother, etc., it is just impossible for me to see how someone would still be encouraged to go to the school when we have board members and others have already put out that school is going to be closed. So I'm asking you, please support that school, because guess what? Even though they are becoming successful, becoming is a process, and they have already demonstrated that they are succeeding there, and they've had some shortcomings, heating problems, transportation problems, but yet with all of that, you have success. If you look at the report, you'll see it for yourself. So please, let them become good students, let them become educated so that they will not have to be incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Hope your throat feels better. Next is DeAndre Muhammad and Charlene Smalls.
Superintendent, Board, DeAndre Muhammad. I came on behalf of Prestige Academy. I want to say that Dr. Coleman, her faculty, staff, children, and parents, as well as the community cannot allow Prestige Academy to close down. The curriculum and the systematic approach that she has towards educating our black youth has accomplishments that has to be commended. 3 outstanding accomplishments in Preparatory Academy this year: inaugural spelling bee, representing Prestige at a district level; home visits, taking schools to the parents via house or coffee shop; Fast Bridge Assessment winner results; kindergarten math, 100% of the students at 84 percentile or above; kindergarten reading, 60% students scored at 84% percentile or higher. In the educated value added assessment system, school accountability composite of black students, a total of 22 elementary schools in Charleston County School District are at levels 1, which means least effective, and level 2, approaching effectiveness. Prestige Preparatory Academy is among 14 elementary schools at level 3, which is average effectiveness, and only 8 elementary schools are at level 4, which is above average effectiveness, and level 5, most effective. Third grade, in 2018, ready ELA mean scores, CCSD was 371. Prestige Preparatory Academy, 415. Third grade, CCSD, 388. Preparatory Academy, 403. The numbers add up. We can't afford this school to close down. It'll be a disservice to us, our children, our community. We back Prestige Preparatory Academy. Let's keep the schools open to keep our children out of prison.
Thanks, Mr. Muhammad.
Good evening. I'm going to read to you, I'm here in support of Prestige Preparatory Academy, and I'm going to read to you a letter from my husband and myself, Christopher and Charlene Smalls. We are writing this letter in support of Prestige Preparatory Academy remaining open. We have the privilege of having our 9-year-old fourth grader enrolled and has been since second grade. He has excelled academically as well as socially. In Charleston County, children of color, especially black males, have not always been afforded the best learning environment as seen in other communities. Prestige not only offers an environment that promotes self-love and cultural awareness, but also challenges our boys with above grade level academics. Prestige staff is committed and caring, 2 ingredients needed for the success of our children. Our gentlemen are treated with respect and are always encouraged to strive for excellence. We are great supporters and still believe in the vision and the mission of Prestige. Since the new tagline for Charleston County School District is, "Students are the heart of our work," we hope and pray the students of Prestige Preparatory Academy will be the heart when making your decision to close the doors of their school. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, Mac, this is all of our public comment.
Okay, we'd like to thank everyone for the comments that they made to us tonight. Now we'll go into the board chair's remark. Just like to thank those that have made their initial interviews with Dr. Craybill, and also as a reminder to those that have not, if they would please make sure to reach out to him or to schedule an appointment time to do the initial telephone interview. Also, I'd like to remind everyone about the board training workshop that will take place on April 26th and 27th. Please, we're asking everyone to please make sure that they block that time off or those dates. We'd like to have all board members in full attendance for this training. Also, be prepared at our Committee of the Whole meeting on March the 11th. We'll have a budget workshop prior to the Committee of the Whole. It's very, very important that we make sure that we're there to discuss the first outlier of reports that's coming as far as the budget is concerned. Also, thank you to everyone that did their mid-year conference review with the superintendent. We believe that critical that communication is important and making sure that we stay aligned with the goals. So thank you to everyone that had an opportunity to do likewise. If you have not, I do ask that you please make sure you reach out to the superintendent to schedule that appointment. Also, last but not least, I'd like to remind board members of policy BCA, which refers to board members' code of ethics, and also encourage board members to read policy BE in reference to board meetings. More importantly, policy BCA, like to remind board members that it's critical that we treat each other with respect, with kind and gentle words, and that we respect the opinions of others when they are expressed. I encourage board members to please be kind in your emails and text messages that you send out to board members expressing your concerns. It's very critical that we allow each other to express their opinions, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, but no one is entitled to be treated with disrespect. So we have had board members to do that. So I'm just reminding board members again of the policies that we have in effect to please make sure that you treat each other with respect. Now, I want to remind you that if the actions continue and board members report such action, do know that we have a policy in place to where next steps will be that we will counsel with board members. If the action still does not resolve itself, then we will move to censoring that board member. And if that doesn't do anything, then we will move to the next step. So there are consequences, but it's the easiest thing to do is to just show respect toward one another and to be gentle and kind in your words. We are the prime example of what leadership should look like, and if we expect our staff and our teachers to act accordingly inside the classroom, we expect staff leadership to act accordingly, then we have to lead by example by showing that respect towards one another. So thank you so much. Also, I'd like to again congratulate our superintendent on receiving her award on today. Job well done. Thank you so much for your continuing support of our military and our work staff. It says a lot when outside entities are able to recognize the inside work that are happening within our district. So thank you so much, and to all of our veterans, to Mr. Gordon and all of those out serving in our military, we appreciate all the work that you do. This concludes my board chairman's remarks for tonight. At this time now, we'll have our superintendent's report.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Now that we have, are you saying that Dr. Craybill has agreed to come? During my conversations with him, he had not made that decision. Is he conducting the training? Has he committed to that?
From the initial assessment, has everyone done their interview with Dr. Craybill? Is there any? You have not? You have not? Okay. So that's first step. Okay.
He hasn't agreed to come yet.
That is the initial date that we have on calendar to do this board training, and it has been set. But this cannot be built if the initial assessment is not done, because it is built upon the conversation that is created through this concept. So if Dr. Craybill should have reached out to each board member. I believe Julie have given all of those emails to Dr. Craybill. So it is critical that the conversation or the appointment is done. So if not, we will definitely make sure that that happens because the workshop and the training will be built upon the assessment from the initial interview.
So he has committed to the
Yes.
April 26th and
Yeah.
7th. Are you prepared to give us any ideas of the contract or the cost
We will make sure that board members get that information prior to, yes,
prior to?
prior to the training.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We want to make sure everyone walk away with all their answers. All right, hearing none. At this time now, we'll have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Reverend Mack. The materials for my mid-year report are both on your table. There's a stack behind everyone's computer, and they were in your packets. So I will just quickly note that there were two different parts to the mid-year report. The first part looks like this, and it's a summary of conversations that I've had with board members, and also a notation that if you haven't had an opportunity to provide your feedback and would like more time or a follow-up, or if I failed to capture your feedback, please let me know. For example, Mrs. Coates, in your one-on-one, we ended up talking about the mission-critical actions and didn't necessarily get all the feedback that you might want to provide. So that's an example. And then behind that, you have the board the board goals mid-year progress chart. Often when we are reporting to the board, you ask us just to hit the wave tops, meaning just give you the highlights, the big goals. And so I will, the big headline. So I'm just going to say that every single one of these bullets is a wave top. It is the summary of a lot of work that occurred over the last 4 months. And this report is 16 pages long. So I'd like to ask everyone in the audience who works for Charleston County Schools to stand. They're really the ones who executed all of this work. And the award that I received tonight wasn't just for me. It was for the culture that the men and women who work in Charleston County Schools have built. So this is their work that I get to represent as the mid-year report on the goals. And I'd like to ask the board and other audience members to join me in just thanking them for the work they do daily. Thank you. Do you have any questions that you want to pose at this time about the mid-year report? You'll note that we've completed one of the goals. We marked 4 of them substantially complete, but 3 of the 4 have to be continually done all the time. They're in the communications area, and the other 20 are on target. The next thing that's just in your handouts that I'll mention very quickly are the graduation dates. It is a handout with the graduation dates, and you'll see a blank there. Asking you if you would like to attend that particular graduation. There are 2 more on the back. If you would sign your name and turn it in, we'll make sure that there are enough seats on the stage for you. This is how we start the process. It takes a lot of advanced planning, so please take a look at that and turn your responses in to Julie by the end of this week, if you would, please. And then just very quickly, I'm going to mention this booklet that was published by the Greater Metro Chamber of Commerce recently. If you haven't looked at it, it is full of fascinating information, and I tabbed one of the pages just to give you an example. This is an example for North Charleston, and here's what the chart and arrows mean. It means that every day, 78,000 commuters make their way into North Charleston to work. 15,000 people who live in North Charleston work in North Charleston, and 27,000 leave North Charleston to work. So that is fascinating to me that in every single day, nearly 100,000 people are driving out of North Charleston. That information is here for every community in Charleston County. Some other, like Goose Creek is represented as well. And we will be asked to create a companion piece that sort of matches this on the live-in, attend-in data for education. And this may not be of any use to you at all, but I wanted to share it with you because I think it's just full of information that could be very important for us.
I'll have that package.
It's behind your computer.
Well,
Find it? It's there. And here's yours, Reverend Collins.
Okay, this not mine here?
Your booklet, the little booklet and the graduation sign-up. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Postlewaite. Are there any questions for Dr. Postlewaite? And I would assume, Dr. Postlewaite, that if there are any questions to the goals progress update, that board members can email them to you.
Absolutely,
Yep.
please. By the 28th is the date we mentioned.
Okay.
And I should also mention that if you are a board member who represents West Ashley, downtown Charleston, or North Charleston, and would like to nominate individuals to serve on those community committees, would you please get your nominations? Email them to me by the end of this week.
By the end of this week.
By the end of this
What
week.
other entities are emailing you by the end of this week? with
West
their
Ashley.
nominations? No, the other people for the organizations. Are we there was a large list.
North Charleston.
What other folks have you sent out that communication to?
I haven't sent out the communication to anyone yet. I've requested to be on the committee of the whole meeting of the City of North Charleston so that North Charleston City Council members who live in North Charleston could submit nominations. And we've talked to Mayor Tecklenburg's office but have not followed up with specific requests.
So you take
But we will.
recommendations
So
from
the only people are the council members, the mayor, and the board members from the various areas?
Yes, and then as we've met with cabinets, for example, when we met with parent cabinet last Thursday evening, we told them if they would like to nominate themselves or someone else, there's no exclusion on who could step forward and volunteer to be considered for the committee. The consultants will make the final decision on the balance of the committee.
So the 3 board members from North Charleston will make recommendations to you?
Yes, sir.
also?
That will be
So-
decided yes or no by whom?
By the facilitators who run each of those community groups. We'll ask them to balance the representation.
So just to be clear, you're asking each board member to submit a name?
Up to 3, I think would be fine. If you
Okay.
want to nominate more, that's fine.
Okay.
It just puts more people in the candidate pool, in the applicant pool. And
Got
that's
it.
Any board member who represents West Ashley, downtown Charleston, or North Charleston.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
questions about that? Everyone's clear? Okay, we will now move to item 9A. Is there a motion?
I move to approve calendar option number 1 as the academic calendar for 2019-20.
Second.
Questions on that?
Okay, Reverend Collins?
I guess it'd be more not supposed to it, I guess.
Okay.
I do like the calendar one overall also. But in the places where you have like an early release for teacher days, for example, like September 19th, which is a Thursday, are you locked in on those days for for early release teacher work day, or do you have an option that could be that Friday instead? In some cases,
No, sir, those are locked in.
what makes them lock in?
Once we vote on the calendar, we report to the state precisely what days we're scheduling for what things.
Right.
And that's locked in because the board approves it, we send it to the state, and then we can't, you could make changes, but it would need to come back to the board for approval.
Well, what I'm asking is, can we make changes now?
The reason that date is scheduled right there is it has to do with the number of instructional days that students have had and the reports that teachers are required to submit.
All right, what about for October 24th?
That would be the same sort of explanation. That's a major milestone day.
All right, so the reason I ask so everyone will understand, when kids get out early on a Thursday,
There's a reason.
and they start back up on a Friday, it's a harsher interruption than if they're off on Friday and they don't go back to school the next day. It's an easier flow for parents, that they can continue on. So it's- when you see, that's the September 19th, it's an early release day. And,
Are you looking at option 1?
yes, option 1.
And September 19th on my option 1 looks like it's on a Friday.
Thursday, September 19th?
It looks like Friday is the blue square, and it says the 20th, and it says early release teacher work
The
day.
mine says 19th, early release teacher work day on my September 19th. This is option 1, isn't it?
Emily, can you clarify this?
So when we
The
send,
20th is great. That's what I want.
Well, that's what's on here, Reverend Collins.
It's not here, though.
so when we sent the calendars out for vote, the option 1 had that early release day and that teacher work day on a Thursday. So based on the 698 comments from the public, there was a large number who asked us, is there any way the board could consider instead having those 2 days be on a Friday?
Absolutely.
So on the board form that we sent you, the recommendation was to vote for option 1, but for you all to consider a revised option 1, and that's the one I think that Dr. Postlewaite is looking at, in which we did indeed, listening to public input, put the date on Fridays instead. So we did, so now it's just, so the vote went for option 1 with perhaps an adjustment if you all think that the Friday options would be better based on the
That's
comments.
what I'm asking.
So there are
Absolutely.
2 option 1s, one that we put out for vote, but one that said perhaps we could consider based on what the public had said, we would adjust and have those be Friday. It doesn't really impact the structure of the calendar at all. It's
right.
just whether it's a Thursday or Friday.
Absolutely. That's the point I was making.
If I may, if you watch Monk ever, Here's what happened. We sent your packets out on Wednesday, and the vote for the calendar closed on Thursday.
Right.
So the staff worked Thursday
Yes.
to assimilate all the feedback on the calendar, and then Julie sent the update out to board members on Friday.
You have a good staff, very wise.
So the, can I ask a question? What most people want is the revised option one, is that what you would call it?
So that was there were many public comments about saying one would be even better if you could consider not having midweek.
Okay.
And Thursday considered midweek.
Okay, and what does the staff feel about that?
The staff is, the vote was we would be okay with that.
Okay, so let me just make sure my motion is clear that we want to support the revised calendar option one.
And I will agree to that change to the motion.
All right,
I'll
is
say-
there a second to
Can I
that?
just say, this is the
Yes.
closest vote ever, I must say.
Yeah.
Between the 1 and 2, there were still a lot of 2s, but it was amazingly close.
Okay. Who seconded the motion?
I did.
All right. Julie, do you have that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Emily.
Sure.
Ken, please cast your vote. I think we moved this item here. B, C, and D. 10, A, B, C, and D. Okay, good. Consent done. I think that's it.
Yeah, because we did A, then we did B, C, and D. So we moved public. That's it. Yep. We've already done all those, yep.
Yep. Okay, motion passed, 7 yes, 1, unanimous, 7-0. Okay, all right, I believe with one additional comment, I just want to make sure, I think we have exhausted everything.
For sure.
Okay, just want to be clear, I want to go back to the P card that was voted upon tonight. Just want to make sure everyone is clear that tonight's voting of the P card was first reading of the P card, so those additional comments that were made will definitely have to come back for a second reading and moving forward, okay? So I just want to make sure everyone is clear on that. All right? All right. I believe we have exhausted our agenda item as agreed upon for tonight. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.